is a cut. Grab the seatbelt with it, cuts the seatbelt. They're relative, they're like $5. You can't beat them with a stick. The trouble is you can't put them over the visor. They're a little bit too big for the visor. This is great.
Flashlights on them too.
Yes, exactly. They're great tools. And you know, that'd be a great thing to have in them if you do run. I mean, who lives around more canals than us? You talk to somebody from the Northeast about that, they think, what? I mean, it's unbelievable. They just started putting guardrails along some of the canals. They were wide open before. Spring-loaded center pipe. Okay. This really doesn't apply to you that much, but if you have a second home and it's a horizontal community, you need to make sure that it's alarmed, and you use your alarm. We arrested the Dinnerset gang. Bill, could you give these out? The Dinnerset gang. How many of you have heard of the Dinnerset gang? There's actually books been written about these idiots. Well, we caught them. They did 61 burglaries before we caught them. And they broke into your house while you ate dinner, while you were home. They were that good. Usually, a burglar he's an opportunist, and he's usually a person that's not looking for confrontation. They're not violent criminals, but they can be violent when cornered. It's like anything else. You can get the littlest dog in the world, corner him, and he's going to bite you. So these, the ones on the front, the first three, are that's the Dinnerset gang. Dinnerset, yep. When you sat down to eat dinner, they'd break into your house, and they were like church mice. No one ever heard of them. It's amazing. They would check doors. So when we finally caught them, they were breaking in at night because everybody got wives to the 6 to 7 o'clock. You know, there was a doctor that was putting his kids to bed, and he heard the dog bark, and he yelled for the dog to shut up. The dog didn't stop barking, and he thought, boy, that's odd. So he walked out of his little boy's bedroom and got a fist in the face and got really beat up pretty good. Ran out of the house. He got one of our guards on the golf course and beat the heck out of her, but just before she faded, she used a long flashlight, bashed him upside of the head. So, and she gave a good radio description. Well, we caught him as he was exiting through the berm of the property. And we took him back to, and it was this one, Dale. This one was sitting in the car on the other side of the berm waiting for him. Now, the next day they had already run his fingerprints through APHIS, and they charged him with like 30 burglaries. Burglary is of a home. You can't burglarize businesses. You break into they're break-ins. Burglary is an occupied burglary is a #1 felony. So they charged him with like 30 burglaries. 4 days later, we were at the race course, Gulfstream race course, being bad, and we saw him. He's out. How can you be arrested for 30 burglaries and be out? The reality of it is where we live, and New York, Los Angeles place, there's no room at the inn. So everybody gets bail, or ROR, released on their own recognizance. So it's a sad state of affairs. So now what's he going to do? He's got to have a defense lawyer. So he's going to commit more crime to pay for the lawyer. And he wasn't winning at the racetrack. And I thought, how can he not be winning? Where did he get the money? He's only been out of jail for 4 days. So, you know, we're not stupid. And that's a sad state of affairs. When I was the police chief, we were over at Bayside. We'd only been here like 2 months. And I come from Baltimore. Baltimore's a pretty tough town. So we're over at Bayside, and we get the call from my department that someone's broken into your house. Well, my daughter and son were home. My daughter's only 12. And he's on the roof of your house, the third floor. And we're putting the canine up there, and I'm thinking, oh my God. The only way you could get to the third floor is go through my daughter's bedroom. So I asked for, I came across the MacArthur Causeway, like a street, and get over there. And this guy had committed a robbery at the boat show, just a strong arm robbery. And one of our cops saw him. Well, this kid was 19, he could run like a deer. But he got seen by a cop that was 23 years old and could really run like a deer. So he wasn't getting away from him. So he gets to my house and he hits the door, the back door, and the door was closed, but the clicker, the button didn't button. Boom, the door flies open. He goes in and it swings back shut. Now the cop can't get in, it's locked. Runs up the stairs, he's just trying to hide somewhere. Runs in my daughter's bedroom, scares her half to death, goes out the bathroom window up on the third floor. Now I get there, they're putting the dog back down with a sling from the third floor. They put the dog on the third floor roof. He got the bad guy. And they lowered the dog and arrested him. You know what happened to him? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. He was arrested and he went to trial. He was pre-trial intervention for an occupied burglary and the robbery he did at the boat show. That was my 2-month welcome to Miami of how we handle crime here. 3 months after that, the mayor of this fair city was indicted federally. The city manager moved to Palm Springs, and everybody on the commission was unelected. Everybody that brought me here is gone. And I thought, oh, good.
Is that Dermer?
Huh?
Dermer?
No.
Alex Dow.
Alex Dow. Alex Dow. No, David Dermer. David Dermer says to me at an election poll one day, he says, Chief, I want you to know if I win this election, I'm trying to remember the lady. She was a House of Delegates. Her husband was a circuit court judge. If I win this election, I'm going to reappoint you. I said, well, I was going to vote for you, but I'm not voting for you now. I'm going to vote for your opponent. I didn't want to get back into that briar patch. So it's interesting how we handle the process. And guess what? They live amongst you. It's like the sexual offenders. Remember the guys, maybe you don't even know, on the tunnel, there was like 25 of them lived underneath the bridge. And the State Department of Corrections put them there. Gave them an address and a zip code. So you have no idea. We put out a 10 most wanted list. One of the things we did, the FBI's doing, always did it. So we thought, we're going to do it locally too. We did it, and everybody's doing it now. They want to show the sex offenders and the violent criminals that live in your neighborhood. Be aware of who lives in your neighborhood. The good part, you have a stretch of Miami Beach where you guys live, the middle part, they used to be called Condo Canyon, down a little further, but it's a pretty peaceful place because there's only things here for condos. Probably the vulnerability area is somewhat the beach, but you don't have the wild beach like down south up north. Maybe the water. There's a lot of marine crime, but there isn't a ton of crime in Mid-Beach, in the condos, because every one of them has security. And they usually don't play in the sandbox where there's a bigger dog. So that's what you have an advantage. But when you leave this property, and you go to Lincoln Road, or you go here, or you go there, you're just like everybody else. So you got to protect yourself. Home alarm check. Give me one more. If you do have a home, or you have friends or children that have a home, this is what they should have if they have a brain and they live in Broward or Dane County. It's an alarm. When we arrested, I digress there for a minute. When we arrested this idiot, we asked him how he selected the home that he broke into. And he said, it's easy. I just walked down the back of them and looked through this beautiful glass vista. Remember your individual homes, pool, shrubs, can't see anybody. You can play all day back there, no one can see you. Look through and what do you see? The front door. What's right next to the front door? Your alarm panel. And if it's green, you didn't set the alarm. So just to make sure, they knock on the door. If you answer, it goes, Bob home? No, Bob lives here, I'm sorry. If you don't answer, this is the other tool that if you carry, and the cop sees you with this, a flat square screwdriver, you're going to get arrested. They stick this in the insulation of the sliding glass door and turn it. And the door disintegrates, the glass disintegrates. Now, this is, not this one, this one. This is a motion detector. All your old alarms, and if you have children that have alarms, all developers built them with this and this, or contact alarms. The door had a contact alarm, the windows had contact alarms, etc. That contact alarm on that door that's just disintegrated is still reading, I'm good. We're still connected, no alarm. And this picks them up when they get in the house. There's a human nature called fight or flight. You guys have all heard about fight or flight. And all of us have a threshold where we'll either fight or we'll run, fight or flight. I want that burglar, when he breaks my window, I want this glass break sensor to ring the alarm then, while he's on the outside of my house. I don't want to wait for him to get into the house, have the motion detector pick it up and ring, because then he's going to do a dash for cash. He's going to steal stuff. You used to say, I heard somebody before mentioning houses or apartments broken into and they used their pillowcase to carry stuff off. They don't steal TVs, they'll take a computer, but they don't steal the stuff they used to steal, silver, computers, TVs, stereos, all that stuff. It's cash, jewelry, computers, cell phones, that type of stuff. That's what they're looking for. And you know, if you're stealing jewelry, you can put it in your pocket and as soon as you get out to the sidewalk, just look like anybody else. You're not carrying a satchel of stuff. So they're looking to dump what they get. Go back to those pictures. One of the things we do as a security company is we attend all police meetings that we can. There is a ton of information that is exchanged. I got this from Lee County. Lee County was getting a lot of gypsy burglars. And there's like page after page of the gypsy burglars. So we were getting a rash of burglaries in our area and home burglaries. And I thought, geez, how are we going to catch these guys? So I posted this at the gatehouse and gave my rovers copies of it. And I offered them a $1,000 cash reward for anybody to catch them. They caught them in 2 days. Here's how they would do it. Not like you would think. They didn't tailgate in at night surreptitiously or walk through the shrubs. They went around to all the gated communities, looked for unarmed guards. Their philosophy was, what are they going to do, throw a radio at us? So they would go in the resident lane and they'd be in cars like the residents use, Mercedes, BMWs, etc. Not a Ford Taurus. And they would drive around in broad daylight. They'd tailgate in the resident lane and they'd drive around broad daylight. And what they'd do is they'd ride around and see Mrs. Smith backing out of her garage. And they'd look right in the garage and say, okay, there's no other cars. They know Mrs. Smith's going somewhere, she lives in, and they'd go up, knock on the door, nobody to answer, they'd walk around back, in, get their stuff, go. Didn't run, the guy drove, the woman did the burglaries. To even be less threatening or conspicuous. So they're very smart. Now, As soon as they stole, these were all from overseas. As soon as they stole this, nothing was recovered except for the day we arrested them. For the millions of dollars of stuff, they went right to UPS and shipped it. Right to UPS and shipped it overseas. They didn't even get it evaluated, gone. So these were professional. And as soon as we arrested those two, no one else was arrested, no one else was caught, they left. I don't know where they went, but they weren't in Florida. I know where two of them were, but the rest of them weren't. So that's what we try to do to make sure that we're on top of what's going on so we can help our clients better. And law enforcement is smart enough to know that there's 15 security guards for every police. 15. So why not use that resource to share information, the information that they can share. They won't give confidential information, but to give that information to help with the resources, help them solve crime. That's all they want. And I want to tell you about this before I forget, because I forgot it the last time. How many of you ladies, this is for you. This is for you, your daughters, your friends, your sisters, etc. How many of you know how to check a mirror and make sure it's not a two-way mirror? It's in your package, so you don't have to remember it. It's a very, very simple test. And with the perverts that are in this world today, that's the thing that you want to do. And in any changing room, any bathroom in a hotel or motel, any bathroom while you're on the road if you're commuting, touch the mirror with your finger. There should be a visible gap, space between your finger and the reflection of your finger. If your fingernail and your finger touch, leave. And the easy thing to remember, and it says it right here, if there's no space, leave that place. Because that's a two-way mirror. And there are enough sickos, and the sad part of it today, not only are you violated by some peeping Tom, he's probably going to put it on YouTube. So it's something to really be. Look at that sports report. Yeah, what the extreme they went to. I mean, give me a break. She should have got double what she got. Anyway, I didn't want to forget that. It's in your package. If there's no space, leave that place. It's like the snake thing. Don't touch a snake if it's got diamonds or they're poisonous, or non-diamonds are poisonous. I could never remember which one, so I don't touch any of them. Can we go down one more? Charlie Bar, etc. You know, you guys live in condominiums, you're above the first floor, all right? You're safe, right?
Of course.
Well, I spent a few years at Williams Island helping a friend of mine. There was a 100-man security team up there. There was a guy called Spider-Man. Christmas Eve, the whole island's had a Christmas Eve party. And this lady on the 35th floor calls security. Did the window washers get the message that it's the Christmas party? And so the window washers. We didn't catch him. 2 Miami Beach cops caught him in Coconut Grove, 35th floor outside. That's how he broke in. Because we all leave our windows open. And everybody used to say, for the horizontal communities, well, I live in Florida to be able to enjoy the air, the sliders, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there's a way of getting the air, but blocking that door, and you need to do it as you move up the floor. Charlie bars are ugly. And I have one there, Charlie bar. They're so ugly. Go to Home Depot, measure your width of your sliding door, go to Home Depot, get a 1-inch wood dowel, cut it 6 or 8 inches short. Lay it in the track at night. You can only open the door that far. You can get the air, nobody can get in. So there's ways of beating the system. You got to be smarter than that. And he's not the only one that would scale the side of a building. I wouldn't. We were up fingerprinting the railing, and I have total fear of heights. And I'm looking over and I'm thinking, I don't want to be here. Here's one of the things that I learned when I moved here from Baltimore. We're not neighborly. I mean, we're polite. I've lived next to the same guy for 19 years. He's lived there 19 years, and I wave to him all the time. I know his name. I don't know what he does, where he works, anything. It's hi bye. When we were back in Baltimore and lived in the country, everybody knew everybody. We had little neighborhood parties and stuff. We don't know who we live around and with. And I've done this long enough to know that there should be a federal law that some people should be federally banned from living in condominiums because some people don't play nice with others. And if you've lived in a horizontal community all your life and you move to a condominium, it's a big change. It's a big change. It's not yours. A lot of it is ours. And that's a hard adjustment for people. So we deal with that all the time too. Let's go one more, please. You know, my neighbors are well enough to observe how they work. But I know that if there was an emergency with that neighbor, I'd be there. And he knows it too. And he'd be there for me. But it's just not the same as it was where I came from. Go ahead. Okay, when you drive your car, we are terrible at leaving stuff. I bet you if I went in your garage right now, 50% of the cars got stuff in it is stealable. And that some idiot would break in to steal. Change. Cell phone chargers. Oh my God, if you steal enough cell phone chargers, you can get your fix for the day. If you could sell it for $4, let me see, it takes me $32 to get it fixed. How many of them I have to steal? And I'll break any window I have to. I'll bet you that there's a certain percentage of cars that are in the garage that are unlocked. Unlocked. You really have to ask yourself, why do you do that? You love taking that risk?
No, we have to.
Yes. Okay, let's do this. Who's in charge of your security? You. You.
Bill.
No one else. No. That's in charge he's in charge of your security team. This is a personal responsibility. If you delegate your personal security to anyone, law enforcement, management, security, anybody, and you look in the mirror, you're looking at a fool, a risk taker. It's your responsibility. Don't delegate that to someone else. Have them assist you, but you take the steps to protect yourself. And that's what you really have to do. And we leave stuff in the car. A good friend of mine lives on Collins Avenue in a big condominium, not far from here. Goes to Sawgrass Mall. Gives the valet guy her car because she's not going to walk. She goes in, she shops all day. She comes out, she's putting stuff in the trunk, goes back in. Really dumb. Because all the stuff she put in the trunk is now stealable. So the valet guy takes the car, drives to her house, because in her glove box is what? Her registration, tells him where he lives. She's got the barcode on her window to get in the garage, and the fob to ride the elevator and open the apartment door. And when she got home, everything that was of value was gone, including the car. You have to take common sense precautions with your stuff. You have a lot of amenities here that are designed to assist you and make life comfortable for you, but also secure. Some fobs are designed where you can only get off at your floor in common areas. Some are designed, buildings are designed where it drops you literally in your foyer and no one else can ride there. But fobs are an actionable, something a crook wants, particularly if he knows where the fob's from. Because if he has a fob, he has potential access. So they're big deals, and you should treat them like they're big deals. Park your car. When you travel, and we all get stuck with road trips. I hate to do car trips, but Christmas time is when you usually get them, etc. Those type of things where you're hauling all the stuff to the grandkids and the flights are a zoo, etc. You pack the car, you got to unpack the car if you're spending the night. The new hotels and along the road used to be motels. You parked the car at the door and you went into your place. Now they're becoming like little hotels where you park your car and you go in the building. If you are staying at a hotel like that, or anyone else, and you have your wife with you, you need to be the guy that checks the security of the hotel. I don't stay anywhere that has steel keys unless they're Medico keys, electronic Medico keys. I don't stay anywhere that has open access after dark. In other words, multiple entries. I want a front door only. There's the desk. You're in that confines, and you have to check that stuff. Don't stay anywhere that, if it has a chain, run. It has to have this kind of lock, or don't stay there. It's, you know, you've all seen them there. They're not that complicated, but the chains are terrible. I'm going to tell you that when I was a policeman in Baltimore, I fed more doors to more bad guys when they opened the door on me with a chain. And this size 11, they're going to eat the door. So you're not going to keep anyone out. Guys, what you can do, and most of your door jams are probably steel. They're probably with framed fake wood or decorative wood on the outside, but they're steel. But if you have a wood door jam, all this stuff is put in, and if you go buy this stuff at Home Depot, it comes with a 1/2-inch screw. Take that out and put this in. A long screw. This isn't really long enough. I'd like a 2-inch screw. Put it into the framing of the door instead of the ranch casings of the door, because all you're going to do is, boom, the wood that it's attached to is going to fly off, etc. It made us look really tough and strong. Let me tell you, it's so easy to do. It's pathetic. So you can protect yourself with a door. And in Florida, if you know someone that has an exterior door, Florida, the building code makes the hinges be on the outside. Doors swing this way. So the pins for the hinges are on the outside. I don't want to tell you how many times we had to take doors off to let residents in who would leave their keys unwittingly in the house. Some good developers use the hinges with pins in them. So when the hinges close, it looks like a nail head bent out, a pin. You can't take the door off the hinges. But not every developer, not every builder is somebody we want to invite over for dinner. Okay, one more. I don't care how new your car is. If you're going to do a long trip and your family's with you, get your car checked over. Make sure that it's hoses, fan belts, those type of things are in good shape. Because let me tell you, here's where we live, right here. And I'm going to tell you how many places are on 95 where this is an anchor. Where you go from these big stretches on 95 where you can dial and dial and dial, and you're not going to get anybody. So if you break down, you're kind of like on your own. So you need to do that. Where do you carry your registration card? Almost everybody carries it in the same place. Where do you carry it?
Wallet.
Pardon?
Wallet.
I'm sorry?
In my wallet.
Your wallet. Bingo.
In the car.
In the car. Okay. Where you should carry it, and I make a photocopy of mine for my wife, and of hers for me. So that whatever car I drive, I got it in my wallet. I'll tell you why. If your car is stolen, how many of you know the tag number? Good.
How many you know?
How many of you know your tag number? You have,
Memorize it.
good. You have a couple ways of doing it. Put it in your phone, your tag number, or have a copy of the registration in your car, because that'll have the serial number and everything else. Here's what happens. Your car is stolen, you're in Georgia, and you call the police, the policeman comes, and he says, what's the tag number? I don't know. So he goes, okay. So he writes the report, folds the report up over the dash and rides off. And he calls in, he says, I need a listing on this tag number from Florida registration. It'll come back maybe 4 to 6 hours later from teletype to computer to computer feeding. Instead of having it right away, put it on a hot sheet, put it out on the radio, and everybody know about it. So have that number, either in your phone or the registration in your wallet, right? Thank you. It is stop in an unfamiliar place to read a road map. And men, I don't need no road map. I'll drive around till I figure it out. We all do. I've been lost so bad before, it's not fun. Go ahead. One more. Hotel, keep going. Credit cards. I'm going to tell you that one of the biggest frauds right now is with credit cards. How many of you use a debit card to charge things? The worst card in the world to use, because if they get your debit card, the bank's not going to be responsible for the money that they debit out. Use a credit. If you're going to charge something or use plastic to do it, use a credit card, because whatever is stolen, fraudulently obtained, it's on the credit card company. Don't use a debit card. And they tell you this in commercial on TV and news reports, especially with gas. They're putting skim readers. They used to put, you could see them. And I used to tell everybody, grab the credit card thing and pull. If it's a skimmer, you'll pull it out. Not anymore. You got to look at the tape, the Department of Agriculture tape that seals the thing. If that tape's broke, don't use that pump, because the skimmer's on the inside now. You can't even see it. It's a little chip. The technology, we're outwitting ourselves. So if you see around the thing where the gallons read, the cost, is a key lock that you can open that, and that's where they make sure, the Department of State makes sure that the gas companies aren't ripping you off. So when that's closed and that tape is on, you're safe. If the tape is broke, don't use that pump.